We are live on Yonkers was, and today we have Detective John Geiss, cold case detective, in charge of the cold case division at the Yonkers Police Department, a 34-year-old veteran, right, Detective?
35 with Yonkers.
35 with Yonkers, a long time. Most officers retired at the end of 20 years, some a little more, some a little less, but Detective Geiss has been here for all these years because he made a promise to a family that he would not retire until the case came to a conclusion, more or less, right, Detective?
Yes.
Well, Detective, congratulations for closing another case. That it's a murder case.
Yes.
Okay, back in October 2019, we spoke about it.
Yes, we did.
We spoke about the case, and you never told us back then who the suspect was, but I'm sure that you had one.
We had a person of interest.
Person of interest.
Correct.
That person of interest that you had back then is the person that was arrested under the allegations of murder, correct?
Yes. She's one of three.
One of three.
Yes.
You also arrested an accomplice.
Yes, John Torres.
John Torres. And the suspect's name is Wanda, I don't know how to say her.
Viguela.
Viguela. It's the suspect. Suspect resided in the Bronx, but the accomplice is a Yonkers resident still today?
The accomplice, John Torres, at that time did live in the Bronx. He's just been a Yonkers resident for a short period of time.
Was he an accomplice? Well, he was always an accomplice, but was he a person of interest back in 2019, or did something happen lately that made him become a person of interest?
You know, myself, and there was also another detective that's going to be taking over my spot, Detective Martinez. She's going to be taking my spot. So we were working this case since from 2014. She got in about 2 years ago. And what happened was that John Torres was not a person that we knew or knew of his involvement in this homicide until just within the last 6 months. His name started coming into the investigation.
Detective, take us back a few years. Let's say 8 years. When does a case becomes cold? How long after the case comes to light it becomes a cold case? Better yet, when did you take over the case?
Well, you know, this happened in 2012. I took over the case in November of 2014. At that time, the detective that had the case, he asked me if I would take over the case because he couldn't go any further with it. So I took the case. I contacted the family to introduce myself and to speak to them. And I met with Tawana, who was Pam's older sister, and the sister-in-law, Asia, in my office. And very lovely people, great family. And I told them, you know what, I will do everything I can to bring this to a conclusion. I don't believe in the word closure because this is not closure for the family. It doesn't bring Pam back. They're going to be thinking about Pam for the rest of their lives. But at least we possibly give them some answers and some justice. And let them know that we, the Yonkers Police Department, didn't forget about Pam. And what happened was I told them that, you know, I'm planning on retiring, but I promise you I won't retire until this thing is taken care of. My retirement date was coming up. I pushed it back a bit, and myself and Detective Martinez was able to close this case with the arrest. So
you made a promise and you fulfilled your promise. But
yeah, usually I don't make a promise. I just tell them I'm going to do the best I can. But you know, talking to Pam's family and in particular her sister, I just felt for them, and I promised them that, you know what, I'm going to do my best, but I promise you I won't retire until we have some answers to this case.
Now, Detective, we saw an interview of somebody else, and the suspect, Wanda, was actually at the funeral of the victim.
Correct, she was. They had a relationship, and they lived together. Wanda and her daughters were at the wake, and Wanda was at the funeral.
You think that the daughters knew? How old were the daughters back then?
Daughters were young. They did not know. They weren't in the house when this happened. They were at the grandmother's house. So the person that knew this was Wanda, John, and the third person, who I can't really talk about.
Now, did John knew before this actually happened, or did John became involved when Wanda decided to do the act, or was it after Wanda did what she did?
No, it was actually, you know what, can't get into too much of the case, but no, he was the one that provided the gun, so he knew beforehand that something was going to happen. Why would you get a gun?
Exactly. And for what I hear from the interviews that came out, he also helped moving the body from whatever place, from the crime scene to Yonkers. Is that an established thing, or this is still under investigation?
No, it is what he did.
Bail reform. People are saying, well, they're going to be released in no time. But my understanding of bail reform when it comes to murder cases, there is no bail reform for them. They will be there until they're under custody of Westchester County, but bail reform does really not apply in this case, or does it, sir?
For Wanda, it doesn't. For John, it could possibly be bail. But the district attorney, there was a bail application last week, and it is high. The bail is high on him. But, I can't say he won't get out on bail, but I know Wanda's going to be in.
And what are the charges against John?
John was, it was hindering prosecution, criminal facilitation, and I think something like destroying physical evidence. So although they're felonies, he's not being charged with the murder. He wasn't there when the murder occurred. He did not pull the trigger. The person who pulled the trigger is Wanda.
Have you spoken to them personally, or they were arrested by the Westchester County, or was it Yonkers Police Department?
Myself and Detective Martinez spoke to Wanda on Sunday the 23rd, and after speaking to her and getting a confession, she was placed under arrest for the murder. We then spoke to John on Tuesday, and after speaking to him, we arrested him for the charges that I stated. So we did speak to both of them.
No, Detective, what actually broke the case? What made her confess? You went there and you talked to her, and she said, well, you guys got me, this is what happened. What made her confess 10 years later?
I don't know why I can't talk for her, but...
What do you think?
Well, you know what? We worked on this case very hard. There was some things that we had to get, and there's things that we had to disprove that was stated early on in the investigation and throughout the investigation. She had some alibis. We had to go back for those alibis and prove that there weren't any alibis. We had great cooperation and teamwork with the Westchester District Attorney's Office, especially ADA Laura Murphy, who was in charge of cold cases. And as a team, we were able to put a case together using not only the DA investigator who works with cell phones, but also an analyst, Claudia Chang, who was able to help us put everything together on everybody that we wanted to speak to, including Wanda. And after doing all that work, we were able to actually know what actually happened, the time frame, where it happened, and where those people were, and it shot the alibi to dust.
Are you at liberty to tell us what happened, where it happened, and what led to the point that you pull the trigger and you take a life away?
I could actually just tell you what we know and what was in the complaint and what she told us.
Please.
Wanda shot Pam in their bedroom at 904 Morris Avenue, apartment 2D. And then she had two people help her remove the body and dump Pam into Yonkers.
And both people that helped her, one we know is still alive, John. Is the other person still alive?
Yeah, I can't talk about that person, but we know and we have that person. But
You have that person?
we're not at liberty to discuss anything further about that.
But you have that person? Or you know of who the person is?
I get to tell you, we know who that person is, and we have been in contact, and we have spoken to her, and we keep in touch, and we have her. That's all I can say.
So it's a her.
I'm not talking about Wanda. That third person we do have.
Okay. What is the message for the people of Yonkers, or and around Yonkers? You commit a crime in Yonkers. You might think you are running away, but you cannot hide. If we have detectives like you that stay persistent and work diligently, sooner or later you are brought to justice, no?
I mean, any department, homicides, all crimes are taken very seriously with the Yonkers Police Department. There is no statute of limitations on a homicide. The detectives that had this case, keep in touch with them. They want to know what's going on. We don't forget. The original detectives don't forget. They brought it to me, and then you know what? We work on it, and I go back to them and let them know. In Yonkers, we want to let the families know that we're not going to forget your loved ones. We're going to try to get you the answers and try to get you justice, and that's what we did in this case. So it's a team effort.
You know, I remember our interview in October of 2019. I said it's important to find closure for the family, and you corrected me. You said it's not just about closure; it's about justice.
Well, and I think I corrected you. I said there's no closure. There's no such thing as closure because there isn't closure to the Graddick family. Pam is always going to be gone. They're never going to see Pam again. What we gave them, hopefully, is, we gave them the answer, and hopefully we're going to give them justice. And it's very important to people realize, these families. This is start of it's a happy time, but it's also a start of sorrow for them because they're going to have to live through this all over again.
So now tell.
And this is Detective V. Martinez, my partner, that helped me with this case.
So give us a minute so we can introduce Detective Martinez.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Can
I can move
a
over
little bit?
Move the chair over. Get on this thing.
I'm so sorry.
Guys,
Thank you.
this is dynamic, it's real, it's live, so things like this happen. We want to introduce you Detective Martinez, who will soon be part of the cold case division.
She will be the cold case.
She will be the cold case division.
Yes.
Detective, move up a little bit so Detective, can you move in a little bit more?
Can't get too low, should be on the lap now. Just
Tilt the camera so yep. Detective, how long you been with the police department?
15 years.
15 years.
Mm-hmm. And
this is a position that you desired, or is one of those things you don't have an option? You're going to be the next.
No, it was an option. He asked me to help. I did, and I loved working with him. I love working with him. He's great to learn. He has so much, knowledge on cases, and it's just so much to learn from him. So I'm happy that he asked me to help him, and that I'm able to help with these cases.
And she's going to be great. She's going to take over. She's going to do a fantastic job. It's being left in good hands.
And is that any new cases? Well, new cases in regards to cold cases. Because if it's a cold case, it's an old case. That you're going to be working on? Is that you want to take this opportunity to perhaps tell the people of Yonkers if they know, if they have any information about any particular case, step forward? Because we interviewed Detective Geiss a few months ago when we spoke about the case, I believe, on Neperham?
Yes, Cornell Williams.
Cornell Williams, exactly. How is that going? I know it's two different cases, but...
Mr. Williams' case is, I don't like to say... this case took, a lot of stuff came to light with this case. And for the last couple of months, we've been concentrating on this case to get it done. So, unfortunately with cold cases, you have a case that's going very hot, you stay with that case, and you got to put some of the other cases on the back burner. Doesn't mean that we forget them. We'll get to them. Some cases have more evidence, has more probability of being solved. So we work them all, but when we get to a point where we're ready to bounce on who we think or we know who did the homicides, we just concentrate on this. With this case, we traveled a lot. We were all over the country, and to make sure that we got all our T's and I's dotted. So yeah, you know, we did good. You know, we were all over the place. And like I said, Detective Martinez is going to do a fantastic job.
I'm sure she will. We have an awesome police department, very capable detectives, and I'm sure she will. But let's also point it out that just because an arrest has been made, yeah, that's the climax of that case. You bring into custody those that are allegedly suspects on that case. But it doesn't stop there. There is much more work to do, correct?
Absolutely. We still got a lot more work to do on this case. This case doesn't end until the person or persons are found guilty. That's when it ends. So until that day, this case, we're going to be working it. We're going to keep on working. There's going to be more people coming forward with information. And I hope if people have information, give us a call. This case isn't over. We're at a position right now where we have the people who did it charged, and we're going to work to keep on going and to make the case as solid as possible. And like I said, it's not over until the people are found guilty.
Well, guys, we need your help. If you have any information about any old cases, new cases, get involved. You know, discretion is used. The police department does not give out information of anyone that might call, correct?
That's correct.
So feel comfortable, be part of the solution, not part of the problem. We see lots of times we complain that this case has not been resolved, that case has not been resolved, but we don't forget that for those cases to be resolved, they need involvement from the community. If you know something, say something. Because you could be the next victim of a violent crime. Am I correct, Detective Martinez?
Absolutely.
What you would like to add to the people so the people of Yonkers can hear from your perspective and not my perspective?
I'd just like to say that we have many cold cases, and people know, you know, the street talks, you know, people speak. You have information, give us a call, you know. We have so many cases and so many victims that need justice and families that need answers.
What's that number, Detective?
What number?
To call if somebody...
914-377-7731.
On that note, we conclude our interview. Guys, be part of the solution. If you know of anything, if you think you can help, call the police department. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But let them make that determination, because you might know something that you think it's of non-importance that might actually be something of very much importance. Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you for watching. Until next time.